I gave my parents $600 a week for a year, but they didn't invite me on family vacation. "We didn't want you there," said my dad. 24 hours later, my phone exploded with missed calls. I should have seen it coming. The signs were always there. How they talked about my sister like she was God's gift to mankind while I was right there. How they always found a way to praise her, even when she did nothing. But this was a new level of disrespect. I gave my parents $600 a week for a year. It wasn't easy for me. I wasn't a high roller with disposable income. I worked hard for every dollar and stretched my budget thin to make sure they didn't have to struggle. When my dad got laid off, they acted like it was the end of the world. My mom called me in tears and said they didn't know how they were going to make it. They had bills, food, their mortgage. I couldn't let them go under. So I stepped in. At first, it felt good to help. Like I was doing something worthwhile. But the more I gave, the more they seemed to expect. If I sent $600, it was soon. "Mike, things are tight this week. Any chance you could send a little extra?" They'd never come right out and say it, but the guilt trip was always there. And I'd check my account, and I knew it wasn't smart, but I'd do it anyway. Because they were my parents. Because I thought that's what family did. Meanwhile, my sister Laura was living comfortably in her little bubble. She married a guy with money, which made her a success in my parents' eyes. They never acknowledged that she hadn't worked a day in her life. That her husband's money was the only reason she had it easy. They talked about her like she was a financial genius. "She made smart decisions, Mike. You should learn from her." Smart choices? The only choice she made was to find a guy willing to bankroll her. But sure, let's all pretend she built her life with her own two hands. I never said anything. What was the point? No matter what I did, she was their golden child. I figured as long as she was doing well, I could swallow my pride. Then last week happened. 3 days before, I had invited her over for a cookout. Nothing crazy, just some steaks, a few drinks, a nice evening out. My treat. They immediately turned me down. My mom said they weren't feeling well. I asked if they needed anything, and she sighed. "We're just trying to rest. We don't want you to get sick, honey." I hesitated. "Are you sure? I can bring you some food." No, don't stop by. But if you could maybe help us out with some medicine. Things have been a little tight this week." I didn't even think twice. I sent them $200 right away. "Thank you, honey. We'll pay you back as soon as we can." That was 3 days ago. The next day I got a call from my neighbor, Mr. Jenkins. He's an older guy who's always been kind. We talk from time to time, mostly small talk. But this time he mentioned something that made my stomach turn. "I just wanted to let you know that I checked on your folks' house and fed their fish while they were gone." I frowned. "Gone where?" "Oh, their trip. They should be back soon. They left 6 days ago." 6 days. I couldn't speak for a second. My mind was racing. "Who are they with?" "Oh, your sister and her husband. Looked like a nice family outing." I don't remember how I ended the call. I just sat there, staring at the wall, trying to process it. My parents, the same people who told me they were struggling, who called me every other week asking for extra money, had gone on vacation. With Laura. And never told me. Not only that, but 3 days ago, when they were already on vacation, they had lied to my face. They had told me that they were sick. They had refused to see me. And they had asked me for money. I sat there feeling like the biggest idiot in the world. That night I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, thinking about every time they'd asked me for help. Every time I'd stressed about my own bills because I wanted to make sure they were okay. Every time they had made me feel like I had to support them while they sat there putting Laura on a pedestal. The next day they came home. And I decided to confront them. I didn't know what to expect, but I wasn't prepared for what happened next. I didn't go to their house right away. I needed time to cool down. If I'd shown up the second I found out, I might have said something I couldn't take back. But after a night of tossing and turning, I knew I couldn't let it go. So I drove over the next night. Her car was in the driveway, still covered in dust from the drive back. The porch light was on. I knocked on the door, and after a few seconds my mom answered. Her face lit up as if nothing had happened. "Oh, Mike! What a nice surprise! We were just sitting down to dinner." I stepped inside. The house was spotless, as if they had done a deep clean before they left. There were fresh flowers on the table. A half-empty suitcase sat by the stairs. It was like walking into a scene from a perfect little family vacation. I took a deep breath. "So how was the trip?" As soon as the words left my mouth, I saw the flicker of guilt in her eyes. She forced a smile. "What trip?" I let out a short laugh. "The one you took with Laura and her husband. The one you lied about." Her expression changed instantly. She glanced toward the kitchen, as if hoping my father would intervene. But he didn't. I could hear him moving dishes around, pretending not to hear. I waited. I wanted to give her a chance to explain, to admit it, to say something that would make sense. Instead, she crossed her arms. "I don't understand why you're upset. We don't have to tell you everything we do." I stared at her. "Are you serious? I've been sending you money every week. I paid for that trip without even knowing it. And 3 days ago you told me you were sick. You asked me for money for medicine while you were probably sitting on a beach." Now my father finally decided to get involved. He stepped into the hall with his arms crossed. "Watch your tone." I let out a sharp breath. "You know what? No. I'm not going to watch my tone. I bent over backwards to help you. And you lied to me." My mom sighed dramatically, like I was the one overreacting. "We were just trying to have a nice trip, Mike. Why do you have to make everything about money?" That was it. That was my breaking point. "I hope you enjoyed it," I said. "Because I'm done." I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app, and canceled the automatic transfers. Right in front of them. My mom's face paled. My dad's jaw clenched. For the first time, they actually looked worried. "Mike, don't be like this," my mom began. "You know things are hard for us." I laughed. "Yeah? They weren't hard enough to keep you from going on vacation." I turned to the door, but before I could leave, my dad said something that stopped me cold. "You're just jealous we didn't invite you." I turned around. "Excuse me?" He shrugged, completely unfazed. "That's what this is really about, isn't it? You're throwing a tantrum because we didn't invite you." I felt my hands tremble. Not with sadness, not with raw, boiling anger. "That's the difference between me and Laura," I said. "She wouldn't have given you a dime, and you still treat her like she walks on water. I spent a year making sure you were okay, and you don't even respect me enough to be honest." I didn't give her a chance to respond. I walked out, got in my car, and drove away. When I got home, my phone was exploding. Missed calls from my mom, my dad, even Laura. I ignored every one of them. And when I walked in, Anna was sitting on the couch, waiting for me. She took one look at me and knew. I sat down next to her, exhaled sharply, and said it out loud. "I'm done giving them money." Anna didn't say anything at first. She just nodded, as if she had been waiting for me to finally say it. And to be honest, I think I had been waiting too. For months I had felt trapped by some unspoken obligation. Like I had to take care of her, because if I didn't, who would? But that was the thing I already knew the answer. Laura could have done it. She and her husband had enough money to take 100 vacations, but somehow I was the one taking out my paycheck every week to make sure our parents were comfortable. And for what? To be treated like a backup plan while she got the golden treatment? Not anymore. Anna leaned back on the couch and crossed her arms. "So what now? You think they'll just take the loss?" I ran a hand over my face. "They'll try to blame me. Maybe send Laura to talk some sense into me. But I don't care. I'm done." And I meant it. Or at least I thought I did. The next morning, my phone was ringing off the hook. Missed calls, voicemails, text messages, it was relentless. I ignored them all. Then, around noon, a loud knock echoed through the apartment. Anna shot me a look. "Tell me you didn't invite her." I shook my head and stood up. But before I reached the door, I heard her voice. Laura's. "Mike, I know you're home. Open the door." I swung it open, and there she was, Laura, standing there in a designer outfit, sunglasses pushed up on her head like she had just come from brunch. And right behind her were our parents. I stepped forward just enough to keep them from coming in. "What do you want?" Laura scoffed. "Are you seriously haunting Mom and Dad? On vacation?" I let out a dry laugh. "No. I'm cutting them off because they've been lying to me for months, using me like a damn ATM while treating you like royalty. But you already knew that, didn't you?" She rolled her eyes. "Oh, please. You act like they forced you to send money." I clenched my jaw. "They didn't force me, Laura. But they sure as hell manipulated me. The fake sob stories, the guilt trips, the we don't know how we're going to make it calls, all the while they were pocketing it for vacations with you." My mom finally spoke up. "That's not fair, Mike. We struggled." I raised an eyebrow. "Struggling so much that you needed extra money for medicine while sipping cocktails on the beach?" That quickly shut her up. Laura sighed dramatically. "Look, it's no big deal. Just turn the payments back on and let's all put this behind us." I almost laughed in her face. "You think I'm just going to roll over and keep paying? No. You pay for them." My dad, who had been silent the whole time, suddenly stepped forward. "We don't want your money." I crossed my arms. "Good. Because you're not getting it." Laura let out a bitter laugh. "Wow. So you're just going to abandon them now?" Anna, who had been listening from the couch, got up and walked over. "Abandoning them? You mean like they left him? Lied to him? Used him?" Laura turned to Anna as if she had just noticed her. "Oh, great. Your opinion." And that's when Anna grabbed Laura's hair. It happened so fast that neither of us had time to react. 1 second, Laura was standing there looking smug, and the next, Anna had a handful of her perfect, salon-style hair. "Listen to me very carefully," Anna said, her voice eerily calm. "You and your parents are never coming back here. Mike is done with you, and so am I. Now turn around, get in your overpriced car and drive away." Laura yelped, hitting Anna's hand until she finally let go. She stumbled back, looking completely outraged. "You're crazy!" she shrieked. Anna grinned. "Try me." For the first time, Laura actually looked nervous. She turned back to our parents, expecting them to support her. But they just stood there, silent. I think they finally realized they had lost. Laura huffed, straightened her outfit, and gave me one last look. "You'll regret this." I just smiled. "Not a chance." And with that, she stormed off, our parents trailing behind her like lost puppies. As soon as they were gone, I turned to Anna. She shrugged. "What?" "She deserved it." I laughed for the first time in days. "Remind me never to piss you off." That was the last time I sent my parents a dime. If Laura was so perfect, she could take care of them. The next morning, my phone rang. I knew who it was before I even looked at it. I considered ignoring it, but curiosity got the better of me. I picked it up. As soon as I said hello, my mom started. "Mike, I can't believe what happened yesterday. That girlfriend of yours put her hands on your sister. Who does she think she is?" I leaned back in my chair. "You mean when Laura showed up at my door, insulted me, and Anna told her to leave?" My father cut in. "She pulled Laura's hair. That's assault. You need to control your wife." I scoffed. "You need to control your daughter. Anna was just returning the energy that Laura brought to my doorstep. Mike, we raised you better than this, Dash." I rolled my eyes. "Yeah? You also raised me to be your personal bank account, so forgive me if I'm done taking life lessons from you." "You're being disrespectful," my mother whined. "We're your parents." I sighed, already over it. And I'm an adult who didn't invite you to my house yesterday. You showed up unannounced, got put in your place, and now you're mad about it. You need to put that woman in her place, Mike. My dad snapped. That was it. I let out a sharp laugh. No, what I need to do is hang up. Michael, don't you dare dash. Click. I threw the phone on the table and rubbed my temples. Anna came in from the kitchen holding a cup of coffee. That bad, huh? I looked up at her and grinned. Apparently I'm supposed to control you. She snorted. You can't even control your own daughter. Good luck with that. I thought that was the end of it. But 3 hours later there was another knock on the door. A loud, aggressive knocking. I knew who it was before I opened it. Laura was standing there, arms folded, looking furious. But she wasn't alone. Her husband, Dan, was standing right behind her. And he didn't look angry, he looked dangerous. I barely had time to say, "What the hell do you want?" before he brushed past me and marched straight into my apartment. You think this is funny? He growled, jabbing a finger in Anna's direction. Letting your little girlfriend put her hands on my wife? Anna stood up unimpressed. Your wife ran her mouth in our house. Dan took a step toward her. Maybe she needs to learn a little respect. Before I realized what I was doing, my fist flew. I caught him right in the jaw, and he stumbled back in shock. But I wasn't done. All the frustration, all the anger that had built up over the past year, I let it out. Punch after punch, I didn't stop. When I stepped back, Dan was on the floor, moaning, his face a mess of bruises and swelling. Laura screamed and fell to his side. Are you crazy? I shook my hand and glared at her. You came here looking for a fight. You found one. Dan coughed, wiped some blood from his lip, and looked up at me. You didn't have to try so hard, man. I leaned down. You threatened my girlfriend in my own house. If you ever set foot in here again, it'll be worse. Laura helped him up and glared at me. You just started a war, Mike. I grinned. No. You did. Dan, still dazed, mumbled. I'm sorry, man. I shouldn't have dash. Too late. I cut him off. Get out. They left without another word. Anna walked over, looked at my knuckles, and then at the door. Well, she said, sipping her coffee. This has escalated. I shook my head and laughed. No kidding. For the first time in my life, I felt free. No more guilt, no more obligations, no more playing the role of the lesser child who had to prove his worth with money. I was done. After Laura and Dan left, I didn't hear from either of them. No calls, no texts, just silence. And I was okay with that. Anna and I carried on as if nothing had happened. Then, 3 days later, my neighbor, Mr. Jenkins, stopped me as I was walking to my car. Boy, you sure made a mess of things, he said, shaking his head. I frowned. What do you mean? He grinned. Your parents and your sister had a little, let's call it a disagreement. And when I say little, I mean the whole damn street could hear it. That got my attention. When? Last night. I was outside watering my plants when it started. Your sister drove up, slammed the car doors so hard I thought the windows would shatter, and started screaming before she even made it to the porch. I raised an eyebrow. What were they arguing about? Well, Mr. Jenkins said, leaning in as if he were about to tell me the juiciest gossip of the year. I didn't want to pry, but they were yelling so loud I could hear every word. So of course I went over and stood under their window. I laughed. Of course. Your sister was furious with them. Something about how they should have treated you better, and how if they hadn't been so greedy you wouldn't have snapped. She kept yelling that it was their fault that you cut them off, and now she had to deal with them. I blinked. Wait. Dealing with them? Mr. Jenkins grinned. Yep. That's the best part. Your parents told her she had to start helping them now. That since you wouldn't give them a dime, it was her turn to step up. I burst out laughing. Oh, it gets better, he said. She lost it. Started screaming about how she wasn't their bank, and how they should have saved money instead of blowing it on vacations. Called her a leech. Oh, and my favorite part? She actually said, "Why don't you call Mike and apologize so he'll turn the payments back on?" I wiped a tear from my eye. "And what did she say?" "Your dad said, we don't want his money anymore. And your mom, she started crying about how you let her down and that family is supposed to help each other. But your sister didn't buy it. She told them, and I quote, 'You don't care about family. You care about who you can squeeze money out of.' Then she stormed out." I shook my head in disbelief. "So they lost both of us in 1 week?" "Looks like it," Mr. Jenkins said. "And now you're alone. No golden child, no reliable paycheck, just the two of them, sitting in that house with no one left to feel guilty about helping them." I let out a slow breath and let it all sink in. For years they had played favorites. They had taken me for granted, used me, dismissed me. And in the end, all it took was one moment of clarity for it all to fall apart. And the best part? I didn't feel bad about it. Not even a little. I looked at Mr. Jenkins and smiled. "Well, I guess you finally got what you wanted." "How's that?" he asked. I turned to my car and opened the door. They wanted Laura to be their golden child. Now they can keep her. And with that, I drove off without a single regret. Update. I thought that was the end of it. I really did. My parents were on their own, Laura was pissed, and I had finally broken free. Life was peaceful. Then, about a week later, I got a text from an unknown number. "Mike, it's Dad. Call me back. It's important." I stared at it for a second, debating whether to ignore it. But curiosity won out. I called. He picked up immediately. "Mike, listen, I don't want to fight, but we need to talk." I sighed. "If this is about money, It's not about money." He cut me off. "It's about your sister." That got my attention. "What about her?" He hesitated. "She's getting a divorce." I almost dropped my phone. "Wait, what?" Dan kicked her out. My dad said. He said he was done supporting her, and now she's back here with us. She has nowhere else to go. I bit back a laugh. "You mean the woman who told me to just turn the payments back on is now broke and back in your house?" My father sighed heavily. "Mike, please. This isn't funny." I leaned back on the couch. "It kind of is." There was a long silence. "She wants to talk to you," he finally said. I grinned. "Not my problem." And I hung up. I guess Laura finally learned what it's like to be on the other side.